What's going on, guys? I am indoors today. I'm in my office. I am not sitting on my porch like I usually am, but I do want to talk to you guys about something I did over the weekend I thought might be interesting for you guys, and give you a little context, say a couple things, and then show a few images and talk to you about some of my thoughts on this lens right here, the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro lens. And I have a subsequent follow-up video to this that's not going to be anything in depth that's like going to be setting the bar for quality necessarily, but I want to show you guys something. So over the weekend, there's been protests, as you guys know, going on around the world, basically, certainly in the United States, around the whole Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd protests. And there was one that was in my area 3 miles away, and I did attend that. Now, I want to give you a little context around where I live, how it relates to Detroit, and all the different things. But I want to say something first of all. To address a couple things, of course, that with George Floyd and other people before, any black people before that, was terrible. And certainly we can't allow that kind of stuff to happen anymore. I'm all about equal rights. I'm all about equality for all. And I hate to see the world in this kind of state. We've come a long way, but we have a long way to go still. And so for all my black community, if there's anybody from the black community watching this, definitely support the continuation and the drive to drive equality. If you guys don't know, my family is interracial. My daughter is half black, so certainly understand from a little bit of that perspective what that's like. But nonetheless, I'll say this. The one thing I do want to make a statement on is that not all black people are thugs. In fact, most of them aren't. Not all white people are racist. In fact, most aren't. And not all cops are bad. In fact, most aren't. And I would just say that to judge an entire group of people by the action of a few is a mistake across the board. And so we all have to take accountability individually to be better, to help our neighbor, and then more importantly, probably raise our children to not think that way or to know better, so that when they become in a position of power, they can influence further change to eliminate these types of instances in the future. So with that out of the way, hopefully my comment section doesn't turn into some kind of like political, racial thing. I don't want that. Please don't do that in the comment section. Just know that we have work to do, and we need to keep going, and we all need to do our part. So with that being said, what's interesting is Detroit, as you guys may or may not know, has had a history of a lot of violence. Back in 1967, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, but in the 60s somewhere, my mother-in-law knows, we had riots in Detroit. And Detroit back then was a multicultural, diverse area. A lot of whites, a lot of blacks down there. And it was a pretty wealthy city. And then, of course, there was the riots, which turned into like the fires. And then it led eventually to the white flight to the suburbs, which is where I live, which would probably explain why the area I live in is predominantly white. Something interesting, we have a chief police down in Detroit that is well liked. He's a black guy. He's doing a great job down there. And I thought for sure when all this stuff was happening that this Detroit was going to turn into one of the hot spots with a lot of the riots, like you're seeing in New York and Minneapolis, out in California. And to my surprise, and it makes sense when I think about it in hindsight, to my surprise, Detroit stayed calm. We've had 10 or 11 days of protests, and for the most part, no real issues, which is awesome. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the people in the city that still live down there have seen a resurgence, and they also have memories from the Detroit riots. And so they're like, hey, not in this city. We're not going through it again. We're in the middle of rebuilding this. You can protest, but you're not coming down to my city to start burning it. And so there's been a lot of peace around the protests in Detroit, I would say, for the most part, and definitely pushing a positive message of change. So with that being said, I mentioned I live in the suburbs. Last weekend, about 3 miles from my home, they had a Bring It to the Burbs protest, right, out to the predominantly white area. And I would say area is predominantly white with a lot of Albanian, Chaldean, Middle Eastern, Italian, and then black, of course, live within the area as well. And I decided I wanted to go down there for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to put my eyes on the people that are as part of this protest and understand what they're pushing for. And like anything else, you saw a lot of great things, a couple of things that weren't so great, but it all stayed peaceful. The second thing is the one area of photography that I really like or I have interest in is photojournalism and street photography. And so I wanted to go down there just for an hour and understand the crowd, understand what they were protesting, and seeing it firsthand, I should say. And I wanted to put this Olympus 12-40 f2.8 on my camera and to basically see what I could get out of it. So I chose this lens because I figured the versatility would be needed. I didn't want the 56-1.4 because I thought that'd be too long. The 12-1.4 required me to get too close, and I didn't want to get necessarily right in the middle with everybody, a lot of people not wearing masks and coronavirus stuff going on, so all that kind of stuff. So I took this lens out and I shot a bunch of photos. And I want to tell you about two things, and I'll show you photos in just a second. You guys can judge me on these 5 or 10 photos I'm going to show you. Let me know what you guys think, but I'll say two things. This lens is super, super sharp. It has good color and contrast rendition, and I think it's really good. I'm gonna have a video for you guys, maybe tomorrow or the day after, talking about this compared to a standard kit lens. Might be interesting. But with that being said, I want to say something else about this EM5 Mark III I'm recording you on right now. And the only gripe I had with it was the viewfinder. For me, when it was really bright and sunny out the day, it was a beautiful day out, it was really hard for me to see my exposure clearly through that viewfinder. For me, I have a hard time with that. I don't really like electronic viewfinders. The best one I ever used is probably the Nikon Z6 or the X-T3 Fuji. And even then, I didn't fall in love with them. I've always been an OVF kind of guy. Other than that, I'll say this. The EM5 Mark III did a fantastic job. Autofocus was spot on. It was quick. It was responsive. The camera is light, which makes it awesome. This lens, combined with that body, is not too heavy. It's a little front heavy for that body, but it's not too bad. And did an amazing, amazing job. The only thing I would say that's a little bit of a hindrance with this camera body is I think the grip needs to be a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper. And so maybe for me, a candidate would be the EM1 Mark III or something like that, but I'm not going to go spend the money and buy that right now. But I wanted to go out there and kind of see what it was like. And I got to tell you guys something. This is kind of one of the points of the video. If you're just online talking about photo gear all the time and looking at photo gear and not going out and taking the advantage or opportunity to shoot and learn your camera, whether you're in wildlife or you're in bird photography or you're street photography or photojournalistic type photography, you should do that, because then you really learn your camera, where it's weak and where it's good. Like I mentioned, the viewfinder kind of bothered me. Other than that, the camera is pretty good. I would say a deeper grip for ergos would be helpful. But the camera was awesome. And I just wanted to share with you guys some photos and my experience and just make a quick video to kind of highlight this. Let me know what you guys think about it. It was really, really good to see an experience being in the mix and being there from the perspective through the lens. Because you got to feel a lot of people's anger, a lot of their desire to change. Some people were there to be in the mix in the crowd. There's a ton of police presence there. So you get to see maybe what it was like to be a policeman surrounded by so many people, what be going through their mind. It was really, really good. And it also makes you go and seek the story, if you will, right? So I was taking some of these photos with the intent that if any of them came out any good, maybe send them to the Detroit Free Press or the Macomb Daily, and maybe submitting some work. Maybe it gets submitted for the paper, they can use it. They didn't use it, so I didn't get that lucky. But nonetheless, it's really, really good to do that. So I guess the point of this video is, if you're in a certain type of photography, go out there and shoot. If you want to put your gear to the test, instead of talking about it on DP Review, go actually use it. You'll find out if you like it or if you don't like it. And if you want to experience what people are feeling, and you want to understand the mood, and you want to try to understand, I should say, go insert yourself in that situation and see how you feel coming out of it. Nonetheless, I just want to make a quick video for you guys. Here's some photos. I'll put a little music over it. Let me know what you guys think of the photos below. I shot this in the natural profile, straight out of camera JPEGs, overexposed by a third of stop. I had -2 on the shadows, +1 on midtones, +1 on highlights. So I was trying to drive a little separation in the S-curve. And like I said, the only thing is I had to switch from spot metering to evaluative metering because it was a really bright day, so there was a lot of contrasty scenes. And if your spot meter landed on someone with a black shirt, or if it was an African-American guy that had black skin, it would tend to overexpose quite a bit. And it was really hard for me quickly in the viewfinder to make those adjustments without missing the shot or missing the opportunity. So I went to evaluative and kind of trusted the camera to make a blended assessment of what the image should look like. So anyways, I just wanted to make that video for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to peacefully discuss some stuff in the comment section below, that's fine. Just don't turn it into a mess, please. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I want to do, again, I do videos and I experience things myself and I just share them with you. I don't make videos to be a YouTuber. I don't monetize my channel. It hasn't been monetized. I don't think it's even eligible for monetizing right now, monetization. But I will compare this lens to the Panasonic 12-60 3.5 to 5.6. It's up on eBay right now. Kind of surprising, the results. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I just took a few photos to compare them, but I'll stop talking. Here's a few photos. Thanks for watching. Comment section below. I'll see you guys next time.